Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Good evening, everybody. Meteorologist Patrick Pete here, giving you an update on what you could expect as we head through the next couple of days. I'm going to give us a couple of minutes for you to join this live. We're streaming right now on Amazon, on Roku. We're also streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So happy Monday. It's always the most difficult day of the work week, right? And you've already accomplished that day. We're still here with you, and there's lots of weather to talk about. Thankfully, there's not as many bumps in the forecast this week as there were last week, but there are some different elements to talk about. So I'm going to give you all a minute to catch on here. It looks like that Facebook is lagging just a little bit. Cool. Looks like we're live now. So good evening, everyone. I have all of our platforms on right now. Meteorologist Patrick Pete here, giving you an update on what you can expect as we head through the next couple of days. Once again, happy Monday. I know some of you were getting off work. Maybe you were getting ready to go to the gym. There's a couple of things to talk about as far as the forecast. It was a little bit cooler today. That was a biggie, right? I stepped outside this morning knowing that we would get into the 40s, but my mind was prepared for it, my body not so much. So definitely a light to moderate jacket weather across the region today, and unfortunately that's going to be the case tonight and as we head into the day tomorrow. So let's go ahead and start to dive into the forecast. There's a part of the forecast that isn't too bad, and that's going to be tomorrow. What you can expect is lots of sunshine as you get out of the door in the morning, but temperatures are going to be near freezing. And I actually expect some folks to start off sub-freezing. Some of those morning lows are going to be in the 20s, but thankfully the skies are going to remain beautiful throughout the day, so it's going to feel much like today did as far as that's concerned. Temperatures gradually getting into the mid to upper 40s as we get closer to lunchtime. And then we get into the mid 50s as we head into around that 3 to 4 o'clock time frame when folks are going to be taking those kids home from school. That's where we should be for this time of year, roughly the mid 50s. So that is par for the course for January. Actually, even into February, those numbers are going to start to rise. But we do have to talk about, is this risk for rain as you head out of the door early on Wednesday morning? Storm Prediction Center has us under that level 1 risk out of 5. That's what we call marginal. We're really concerned about the isolated potential for a thunderstorm to develop, tap into some of the energy that's out there, and that could lead to heavy downpours of rain, and we could also see some gusty winds. We're talking about gusting up to 60 miles per hour. And I know that something that a lot of you are probably concerned about just with the weather that we've had recently. Is there a tornado risk? The tornado risk here is incredibly low. So we're talking about really being concerned about rain and wind here as there's just not a lot of shear in the atmosphere. And even with the timing of the day, there isn't a whole lot of energy. So we're just concerned about that isolated instance of some pretty strong winds. Good evening, Max. Oh, you're on both platforms. Good to thank you for joining us, Max. So here's that level 1, and let's break down this timeline because I know that this is going to happen early in the morning. I know lots of you are going to be asleep at 3 o'clock, myself included. Good evening, Michael. but that's when the rain's going to start to trickle in. It's going to be more widely scattered at around 3 a.m. But the closer we get to 6 a.m., whenever folks are starting to wake up, the coffee is starting to get made in the kitchen, we're starting to maybe scramble some eggs, that's whenever that rain is going to start to move in. And you're going to be heading out of the door to deal with this, and that is going to cause a bit of an issue. Not only are we going to be dealing with some heavy rain, but we're also going to be talking about those winds being elevated. Now, I broke down that risk for severe weather a couple of minutes ago being isolated as far as those 60 miles per hour wind gusts. But what we are going to see just in the general atmosphere because of the pressure gradient that's going to be in place is that winds are going to be gusty outside of storms. So that means that just regular rain moving through, we could see those winds gusting 30, 35, even 40 miles per hour. And I don't know if you paid attention on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday was a very dreary day. It was cloudy and the rain was intermittent throughout the day, much like we forecast and told you about. But with the grounds being soaked with that, because we had several locations pick up 2 inches of rain, up to 2 inches of rain, the grounds are going to be waterlogged, and we're throwing in more rain on top of that, and then we're adding these breezy winds. So once again, I grew up in Louisiana, but I've lived literally Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, North Carolina, Maryland. I've lived in a lot of the southern states, and something that happens when it rains a lot, we have a lot of these old trees. You get rain, and then you get a breezy wind behind that rain. Those trees can come down, and that can lead to isolated instances of power outages, but also just it can slow down your morning drive. So we want to make sure we give you that heads up as that moisture is moving in. Wesley checking in from Ackworth. Yeah, make sure you guys tell me where you are in the comments. Max, Michael, you guys join every night, but I don't know where you're at. So shoot us a message, letting us know where you are. Good evening, Mark. Where are you joining us from, Mark? So we do have that moderate impact for rain and wind to that morning drive. And we're going to see that rain push in. And if you're lucky to have a late start to the day like me and Fred, by the time you get up 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon to maybe get your day started, the rain's already gone. So you're going to wake up and you're going to look outside and you're just going to see some damp grounds and hopefully not too many branches anywhere. And then as we head into the second half of the afternoon, temperatures are actually going to climb because we're still going to be dealing with a southwesterly component to the wind, and that's going to warm the numbers into the 60s. So it's actually going to be quite mild before that cold front slides through on the backside and starts to shift those winds like you see happening there. So we go from like a southwesterly component to the wind to a more northwesterly component, and that's going to usher in some cooler air. And if you're in the mountains in extreme northern Georgia, you could even see a stray flurry or two as that cold air starts to move in. That area of low pressure will lift on off towards the north and east, and there's going to be some wraparound moisture that could lead to some isolated snow flurries. No accumulation, and it's not going to be widespread, but I don't want you to be at home and look out the window and like, oh, the dude didn't tell us about the snow. Yeah, snow flurries are going to be very isolated and no accumulation behind that, but definitely a possibility as that low pushes off towards the north and east. As far as rain totals are concerned, I just told you that we picked up roughly 2 inches of rain across the region yesterday. And we're talking about throwing in a ½ inch to an inch and a quarter across the region. So that's why we're telling you about that concern for some trees to be down. We don't think this is going to be a widespread event, but with the ground being waterlogged and these gusty winds, 30, 40 miles per hour, and even inside of these isolated thunderstorms that are possible south of I-85, we could see some of that wind damage just due to just the sheer strength of those winds. So once again, not scaring, not alarming, just letting you know that we do expect those conditions to kind of all be in play early Wednesday morning, which could slow down your morning drive. So make sure that you give yourself a little bit of extra time. So I've shown you the rain totals. Let's talk about the winds and the timeline of those winds. And here's a look at some of our outputs for wind gusts. And you can see those winds are going to be gusting upwards of 30 miles per hour across a large chunk of the state as we start off your Wednesday morning. So it's going to be stronger while most of you are asleep. So if you're getting out on the roadways 10, 11, it will not be as gusty as it will be early morning. But once again, that concern does exist. And they're going to be elevated throughout the day. As those winds shift and become more northwesterly, that's going to filter in that cooler air. And I do expect the temperatures to actually drop quickly as we push into Wednesday night into Thursday. And that's going to segue into the 7-day forecast, where we do have one alert day in the forecast, and that is for your Wednesday. So a first alert for those morning showers and isolated thunderstorms and those breezy winds. And then on the backside of that front on Thursday, we're going to keep the clouds around. And because of the clouds and the shift in the winds, we're going to struggle to get into the upper 40s for daytime highs. So a few degrees below average there. We round out the work week with pretty dry conditions. We'll get back up to 50 on Friday. We throw in a little bit more sunshine. And then we're looking forward to that all too important weekend where Saturday looks to be the weekend winner. And then Sunday looks to be a little damp. We're talking about another system that's going to move into the area Sunday into Monday, and that's going to bring a rain chance. Looks like that rain's going to exit pretty early Monday, and we're going to see those temperatures rebound and get back into the 60s. So wanted to recap with the forecast. Also wanted to see we have several viewers online right now. Wanted to see what you guys did with the weekend. I don't know if you follow me on my page, meteorologist Patrick Pete, but I talked about gumbo all week in the forecast about Sunday being a gumbo making type of day. And I actually made some gumbo, and admittedly, it turned out a little bit thin. Normally, it's a little bit thicker, but I was trying to like make a full pot, and I put a little bit of extra seafood stock, and it thinned it out a little bit, but the flavor was pretty good. I brought some to work, and it was a little spicy, but altogether, I think it was pretty good. What did you do with your weekend? I did not go running outside because it was just a little bit too damp for me, but. Oh, I also babysat a dog this weekend, so it was kind of a long weekend of being in the house. Thankfully, it looks like next Saturday will not be that type of weekend. It'll give me a little bit more flexibility, especially on Saturday, to try to make plans. So I know that there's a lot going on. Saturday is going to be that day to get out and about, a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures are going to be a little bit chilly in the morning to start off the day, but it gets a little bit more agreeable as we head into the afternoon. So I am here to answer any of your questions, maybe have a conversation about something, maybe you're trying to make plans. I can give you some quick fire answers just because this is a little bit easier to do on Facebook than it is, when we're on TV, there's no interaction there. So wanted to kind of give you guys a minute to throw in some questions or comments in this section. And if we don't get any, then I'm gonna, okay, hey, Ella, had a great birthday, even though it rained a little. So that means your birthday was on Sunday. Or maybe your birthday was Saturday. Oh, it was Saturday. You were in the live chat last week. Your birthday was Saturday, and it rained Saturday night. So yeah, Chops Lobster Bar for the win. I have not been to Chops Lobster Bar. So if you don't know me, I'm a bit of a foodie. So whenever you guys put those type of recommendations in the comment section, I'm gonna go and probably check it out because number one, it says lobster bar, so that means they have seafood. I've never seen drumsticks in gumbo, but okay. Ella's talking about my gumbo. So yeah, so a lot of times people just do like shredded chicken, or they do chicken thighs, and then they let the meat cook off of the thigh. I do legs or the drumettes because I just like, it's the only part of the chicken I really like other than the breast. And so I just will let that simmer until the meat all falls off the bone. So I do that, and eggs, because my family, like where I'm from in Louisiana, we do gumbo with potato salad. And I can't make potato salad because it's just not one of my gifts. But I can do a decent job on gumbo. And I put the eggs in because, potato salad is real eggy.